Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Settle down. We thank everyone for coming today. We're going to proceed on with the teachings out of Matthew 5. I don't know if I'm going to go to 6 right away because, as I said, not very long, we're probably going to be setting up the teaching center elsewhere, okay? Where we're going to be moving on real soon. But continue coming because we're going to hit some real important subjects for those people who are interested in kind of breaking up some of the confusion when it comes to certain scriptures. I want to deal with that before I leave this city. So that you can have a clear, concise understanding of a lot of controversy that when you go back into the original language, you can solve. Okay? So that we want to do that, but we also want to take and give to you teachings that before we leave that will empower you to continue carrying on the living of this message. Okay? The living of this message. The living of the message which the Torah has taught us and that has been defined by Yeshua and his apostles, or his sent out ones, those that were anointed to carry forth his message and his definitive of Torah. So we're going to enter into this verse, and I want you to be prepared because this verse has been used by the enslavers, the Rashim, to pacify people. The next 2 verses. But when you read it from its true context and the true purpose that Yeshua was teaching from Torah, okay? He wasn't teaching against Torah. So you cannot translate it in a way that shows an antagonism or an opposite of Torah as has been done within the system. Okay? So we have been programmed to think that the message of Yeshua is something separate from the message of Moshe. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's not. It says that the Torah came by Moses, and it did. Grace and truth came by Yeshua HaMashiach. That doesn't mean that the law is separate from the message of Yeshua. It's just that the letter of the law came by Moshe. Grace and truth, that is the enlightenment and the definitive of the law that gives us power that through the law we might die to the law. Understand what that means? That when you die to the law, that means you are birthed in righteousness and don't need the law because you're living it. It is born within your heart. I will put my Torah in your mind and write it in your heart. Once it's in your heart, you don't need the letter of the law because ontologically and intellectually, rationally, and spiritually, you have become an embodiment of it, but on a spiritual level. This must be perfectly understood so that you don't be deceived no more. Because I'm going to tell you, there are more deceivers out there than there are those that are speaking the truth. Not only in the pagan church, but also in a lot of these Hebrew sects. Okay? Because anytime you build your gospel, or you build your teachings, or you build your instruction on anything other than that which is the spirit, you're going to end up in error. You can't build it on race. You can't build it on color. You can't build it on a culture that was developed by the carnal mind. You can't build it or integrate it within the social science of your society that has been produced from a carnal mind. We're talking about coming into a spiritual mind, into the mind of Yeshua, a mind that is obedient and unto death, a mind that casts down every error, every exalting thing that exalts itself above the will of Elohim down. We're not talking about positive thinking. That's the world. I'm talking about divine thinking. I'm talking about Ruach thinking. Okay? So this is what we want to convert ourselves to a mind that is completely founded on being obedient unto fulfillment of the Torah unto death. This is what Yeshua came to do. This is what the example that he left for us. You understand what I'm saying? That his life was a exemplary life, saying, okay, y'all, this is the way you do it. Cast down every thought and imagination that exalts itself above the obedience of Mashiach. Anything that contradicts his commitment to obedience unto death, you ought to cast down. Shh. Please. Okay? You ought to cast down. All right? So when Yeshua is speaking on the teachings of love, he's not telling you to walk around with your head bowed down. He's not giving permission for people to come and beat you up. He's not teaching you a slave doctrine of love. He's teaching you a righteous doctrine of love, that in your loving, you must remain within the jawbone of righteousness. Anything that you do, whether it is defending yourself spiritually or physically, remain and continue in the, don't go beyond the borderline of the jawbone of righteousness. Okay? You wasn't here for that lesson, and I'm not going to go over it at this point. You miss a class, you have holes. Okay? So, what we want to do now is look at Matthew 5:43 when he begins the teachings on how to appropriate love towards those that are opposed to you. And we want to put this in the right context and take it out of the oppressive context that we have been taught in through pagan and supremacist Christianity, to the hypocrite system. The system that teaches you the word for profit, for self-gain, for self-exaltation. We're not trying to exalt ourselves. We want the Mashiach to be exalted within us. We must become less as he become more within us until we no longer exist, but Mashiach exists within us in his full capacity of righteousness, purity, holiness, and obedience against every stronghold that the world has set before us to cause us to stumble from the way of truth and to lose our eternal life. Okay? So, let's get to this. It says, continue Yomah saying, Yashahu li Tomadehu, to his students. Shematim, that saying, what they saying, She Nomar, Li Kede Munim, to the eastern ones, or to the ancient ones, to the ones of the east, where the Gan Hayden was situated. Ones who are in reception of the word. One who is in reception of the good and the truth of the word. So he's not speaking to unrighteous people. So you can't define nothing that he's teaching from the sense that he's speaking to unrighteous people. He is speaking to those that are in reception of truth. Okay? All right. So even though some words have a more antagonistic meaning, then there are other meanings of the same word that is less antagonism. We choose the less antagonistic definition because he's not talking to those that are in a state of antagonism, but in a state of reception of truth and love from Yahweh, the eastern one. Kedu Munim. He says, Ve'achabet, also love, le'ohabcha, to those loving you. Again, y'all remember, this is the same word, ahab, but when you put the vav here with the dagish, making the o sound, it becomes a active participle, meaning that the word takes on a meaning of continuous action until fulfillment. So he's saying also, ahabet, also love, li ohab cha, to those loving you. This is what was taught to the eastern one. Bestow love upon those that are loving you. Not those that are conning you. Not those that are lying to you. not those that are deceiving you, not those who have that false friendship and that false brotherhood, but those that are actually ministering divine love to you on a consistent level, on a persistent level that produces a redemptive result. Love always produces a redemptive result. Anytime you're dealing with people and you're always getting a negative result or some type of dark result, then you know that they're loving from an antagonistic point of view. That is, they hate you, but they have covered it with a similitude of love. That's that emotional love. That love that is not connected to the truth. Because love connected to the truth don't have no lie in it. Love connected to the truth don't have no procrastination in it. Love connected to the truth don't have anything in it that is apart from the jawbone or the way of righteousness. Okay? Then he says, Ve te shina. And those that reject you, okay, and you reject those, rather, I'm sorry, and va te you shina, and you reject those, show again the active participle, those that are constantly and have a consistency of rejecting you from an antagonistic point. Okay. Now, those that are rejecting you from antagonism doesn't mean that you reject them from antagonism, from hatred. See, we reject our enemies on the basis of the fact that by accepting them, we adulterate ourselves with their evil. We adulterate ourselves with their unrighteousness. Okay? That's why it is written by the prophet, come out from among them and touch not what is unclean. We're not rejecting out of an antagonistic hatred. We reject for the purpose of keeping ourselves pure and undefiled from those who live in antagonistic hatred. Okay? So it says you reject those that are rejecting you. Rejecting in the sense, okay, shonaeka, that are rejecting you. Active participle. That are constantly antagonizing you for the purpose of disempowering you, for the purpose of minimizing you. This is what the supremacist mind does. The supremacist mind wants you to feel inferior. And believe me, it's not a matter of color anymore. Okay? If you find a person that is living in a love other than the love connected to the truth, a love that is a derivative of the love of the world, that means they serve Elohim for profit and gain. They serve Elohim for prestige. They serve Elohim for other reasons other than fulfilling his word. And I know for a fact, with all the pastors and leaders that I have gone to and said, hey, look, we have to move the body forward. We have to take them out of the bless me realm and bring them into doing the will of the Father for the purpose of redemption unto the fullness of the stature of Mashiach, and have been rejected antagonistically. I say that because in most cases, they will lie. They will say yes and do no. Yeshua said, let your yes be yes, yes, your no be no. And any addition to that, that one is evil. See, the word defines you by your actions, not by your pretty words. Not by the fact that you're able to flatter the people to the financial box. Okay? Not because you fit into the acceptable social norm and definition of success that the world has defined for you. We know what the definition of success and greatness is in the kingdom of Elohim. It says, he that teach and fulfill The mitzvot, the commandments of Elohim, is called great in the kingdom of Elohim. But those who teach against the commandments and teach others to understand so are not called the kingdom. They are a nothing. They are misnomers. They are coals for the fire. They are your persecutors. They are those that are going to consistently shonaeka, reject you on a consistent basis for the purpose of minimizing you, for the purpose of bringing you under their yoke, for the purpose of making you produce an inferior ideal of yourself other than the ideal in which Elohim has given you. See, this is the temptation that is shown in the evangelists in the Gospels, or the Basarah, when Shaitan, the deceiver, when the lie came to Yeshua. If you are the son of Elohim. See, that if, that's a word of doubt. He wanted Yeshua to doubt his sonship, to doubt his relationship with Elohim, to doubt his identity. If you are the son of Elohim. See, that's why they come to you. And they say yes and do no, to try to make you feel irrelevant. They say, look, things to you. That's suggestive thinking. It's a persuasive, trying to persuade you into their perceptional realm, into their emotional realm, where you accept yourself as something less than what Elohim has called you to be. Once they get you there, you're done. And that's why the Kidei Munim, rather, was told to reject those that are rejecting you. Of course, the supremacist system uses the most negative word, which is hate, but in the Hebrew, to hate means to reject something. Now, the intent of what you're rejecting and what you're hating is based upon the position you are. If you are in reception to Elohim, you are rejecting for the purpose of maintaining purity and truth within your life. If you are not connected with Elohim and you are walking in the darkness of this world, you are hating for the purpose of destroying, stealing, killing, and destroying the goods and the truth of Elohim that is being cultivated within you and bringing you down to an inferior identity of yourself. And they saying to you, what are they saying to you? If you be a son of Elohim, turn this stone into bread. Turn this truth into good. They want to challenge you. They want you to do something they can't even do. Don't want to do. Because this is what they want. This is what Babylon wants. This is their glory. Money. This is our tool. But this is not our glory. This is what they call a blessing. Money. God gonna bless you. Give me 100 and He's gonna bless you with 1,000. And you so dumb and greedy, living under a religion that does not extract the darkness of evil intent. You go for it. Because you have not the love of the truth within your heart. When you have the love of the truth within your heart, you stop thinking that this is a blessing. It's just a tool. Money is the answer to all things. You ain't got no rent, you need money. You ain't got no food, you need money. It's a tool. But it is not your glory. It is not your honor. It does not produce dignity within you. You understand what I'm saying? So, Shaitan has shrewdly directed and redefined blessings in the church of the Rashim, those who teach against the righteousness of the Torah. Okay, that's the church of the Rashim, because the remnant of Elohim is those that keep the commandments and the testimony of Yeshua. Those in the outer courts who are called Gohim are those who has trampled the truth, which is the commandments, under their feet. and have produced a doctrine out of the seed of the human nature, and produce a beast doctrine, a doctrine that is purely carnal, the blessings of carnality, the Elohim of carnality. Now they got a man on the wall in flesh and in some racial identity telling you all your life is God. Elohim is spirit. That man on the wall is an idol. It is blasphemy. That's that cartoon Jesus. But that is not the living Mashiach that appeared to Yochanan in the book of Revelation, chapter 1, whose eyes was as fire. Out of his mouth came a two-edged sword. His face shone as the sun. There wasn't no flesh involved in that. You understand what I'm saying? But that was the manifestation of the Elohim form. The manifestation of Yahweh in bodily form. You can't perceive Yahweh outside of his bodily form that he had produced from himself, called the Elohim. That's why I said that in these days, the days of his resurrection and glory, he shall be called what? Yahweh Zadiknu. Yahweh our righteousness. So Elohim is Yahweh manifested in bodily form that was seen by Moses and the 24 elders up on the mount. That's the form of Yahweh called Elohim, through which he manifests his light, truth, and the effluence of his spirit. You understand what I'm saying? So the Kiddushim was saying, okay, you should reject those. You shall reject those. You shall reject those rejecting you consistently because of your position in truth. Reject them. That don't mean you kill them. That don't mean you do acts of hatred against them. That means you set them apart from yourself. This is what the I always say Kiddushim. Kedemunim was taught. Those who were in a condition called Gan Haden. Those who were in a righteous condition, who had divine thinking. Okay, those that are outside of this divine thinking, this divine life, this divine culture of life that I have given you, reject them when they reject you. But if they receive this truth, receive them. Now the next verse seems to be that Yeshua is contradicting. We'll deal with that next week. But you got to understand that ba, which is a connective, can mean and, but, also, inclusive. But the Rashim will use a word that seems to but Yeshua said. That means everything else he said was irrelevant. But that's not how it should be used. It should be also I am saying to you. Okay? That means I am expanding on this ideal. Okay, this Torah ideal. I'm expanding it into a deeper, a more defined way. Okay? So we have to understand that those who are stuck in this antagonistic so-called religion that was developed by enslavers and oppressors, that was developed to achieve a political agenda, and not a spiritual agenda. That spiritual agenda meaning to empower you to fulfill the righteous requirements of Torah by the Spirit and not according to the flesh. They didn't have that agenda for you. They had the agenda of keeping you on an inferior mode of existence with bowed head and no resistance to evil. Just service to it. And when we look in our communities and our churches that reject the righteousness of Yahweh, when we look in our Hebrew community that has changed the word into a race ideal instead of an ideal of redemption, restoration, empowerment to dignity and honor and glory, we understand that those who are seeking Yahweh for the empowerment to fulfill the righteousness of Torah are in the minority. Those who are seeking to fulfill, to keep, guard, and protect the mitzvot, the commandments, and the testimony of Yeshua are in the minority. So we have to make a new purpose in our life, not to be a part of everything that has the same title that we have. Because a lot of those that have the same title that we have are still living within Babylonian doctrine. They still accept Yahweh as three persons. That's blasphemy. They still are depending on a vicarious sacrifice and not the obedience of the commandment to bring them into purification and redemption. That is error. Okay? If you believe that you can be made pure without obedience, then you are in error. You are foolish. Very foolish. Listen to what the apostle said. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of Elohim. That means faith, emunah, a power, something that produces the power in you to do, is produced by the acceptance of truth. That is, the obedience of truth. As Kefa said, you are purified through the obedience of what? Of what, Yachael?
Yeah.
What are we purified by?
By spirit.
By the obedience of truth. That is what?
Torah.
That's right. Because Torah, the commandments, is the truth. And truth cannot be abolished. Okay? Okay, get that in your head if you really want to progress in this message of truth that we are giving and have been giving and shall continue to give. Even though we know that we are in the minority, even though we know we're not going to get a mass support from the people because they rather live within the carnal precepts of carnal religion because it's comfortable. Because in that precept, you can live in sin, decadence, and whatever you want and say, well, I'm not perfect. But when you're living in this message, we're saying everything that comes against the obedience of Mashiach, everything that comes against obedience, we're going to cast down. We're going to fight against until we attain to the highest calling that is we are called into in the Mashiach. And Mashiach came not. He said, deficit from your thought that I have come to Hapa, move the Torah out of the way. No, I came to Salim. I came to bring it to its total potential, to its total wholeness within you. I'm trying to take you up just out of the letter of ritual into the letter of reality. Okay? Into a reality that the letter be made alive within you on an ontological level to the degree that you can fulfill what the prophet has said. I have said that you are Elohim and all of you are Bnei Israel. All of you are sons of Elohim. Bnei Elohim. You understand what I'm saying? Change your identity. Change your identity. You are sons of Elohim through the emunah of Yeshua HaMashiach. You are sons of Abraham through the emunah of Yeshua HaMashiach and heirs to the promise. I will bless those that bless you. I will curse those that curse you, and I shall destroy them in my name. Every weapon formed against you shall not prosper, for this is the inheritance of the servants of Yahweh. Claim your inheritance. And I'm not talking about the American dream inheritance, the inheritance that is promised to us in Torah that has been replaced by the Goyim hypocrites with the American dream. That's not your inheritance. Okay? So you have to be taught these things. You have to be instructed in these things. You have to stop being so arrogant. Thinking that if you got a big house and a nice job, you blessed of Elohim. And this is why Yeshua instructed his disciples. He said, oh, how hard it is for the rich man to get into the kingdom of Elohim. Because he loved his riches and his wealth and the glory of this earth more than he loved the riches and wealth of truth, wisdom, and knowledge that derive from the good of Elohim. Your salvation is in here. I will put my Torah in your mind. and I will write it upon your heart. That's the definitive of your salvation. And if your ideal of salvation is not inclusive of the ontological development of your heart into an order that is conducive to Torah, then you in the outer courts in ignorance, darkness, the outer courts of knowledge. You're just walking by the letter in a ritual knowledge that does not reproduce the redemptive power and righteousness unto holiness of Elohim. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody in here understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You've been deceived. They're teaching the word, but they're transferring the word to the things of the earth. Okay? If you got a nice house, if you got a nice car, you blessed of God. Al Capone had a nice car and a nice house. Bugs Moran had a nice house and a nice car. The average drug pusher on the corner got a nice house and a nice car. Heads of mafia who own trillions of dollars got a nice house and a nice car. Does that make them blessed? So you have to think deeper than the hypnosis that they're putting on you. This phony seed faith doctrine. And they say, this is your seed. No, the word of Elohim that you sow in your heart through obedience to it is the seeds of your life. So we're going to continue on. And I want you to continue coming into these sessions. Because I want to show you some things after we get out of this. We don't know the date that we're going to be moving, but we know that we're going to, the first thing we're going to do is build a learning center. We're going to get some strong young men to get out here on these streets, and we're going to hit the highways and the byways. We through dealing with these hypocrites. We through begging people to, hey man, let's study. Let's take this deeper. Let's develop a culture of prayer. Let's develop a culture of tzedakah. Let's do something but sit on our butt and get together, meet, eat, and argue with one another. And in the last 3 occurrences that I've had with Christian leadership, it ain't been nothing but a bunch of lies and thievery. And I done reached my end. The Goyim church in this country is corrupt and the leadership is corrupt. And they will not allow the message and the truth of righteousness to get to their people. They will lie, smile on your face with platitudes and latitudes and orchestra of litanies. See, it's all just talk, pretty words. And flatter you into their darkness. That's why I said, let the blind follow the blind, for they will both fall into the hole. But you who are sincere, I don't know if you're sincere. I am. And I'm going to die for this thing. I'm going to die to sin. I'm going to fight until every ounce of sin is out of me. And if I am rejected by anyone, I'm going to reject you. But I'm going to also do what Yeshua told me to do for you. Oh, you can't come in my space, but I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to do good for you. Okay. My action towards you will be within the jawbone of righteousness. But to come into my spiritual space with that lying, hypocritical, religious garbage, that ain't happening no more. Okay? And you better make the same determination and not go through these negative experiences that I have gone through for the last 25 years to tell people, look, we were taught a gospel that was not a gospel of the word, but a gospel of the social science of man. We need to make corrections so that we can bring things back into alignment with the will of the Father. They won't do it. Why? That's why. What they're doing is profitable to them upon the earth. And if they ain't after this, then they after some grandiose celebrity status. They want to be known on the TV shows and talk pretty. While the people sit in the pews in a state of illusion and emotional excitations thinking that that emotional excitation is an act of divine deliverance. And it's not. It's just an illusion. Okay? So we're going to end here. Everybody get this. All right? And we're going to go on with the second part of this teaching. And we're going to put it in its proper balance. Okay? We're going to put it in its proper balance so that you can see what Yeshua was actually teaching apart from what we have been taught this teaching was teaching. So I say Shalom Aleichem. Thank you for coming. Come back next week at the second part of this. It's up to you. I just tell people come. If you don't come, you don't come. I'm working out my own salvation with fear and trembling. You better work out yours and get the proper instruction you need so that you can proceed on into the attainment of eternal life in Yeshua HaMashiach. Shalom Aleichem.